Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Community Podcast. On today's episode, I welcome Professor Dave Keighron. How's it going, man?
Good, Mike. Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and looking forward to answering some questions and maybe talking to your community.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like it's been a long time coming. We have had a good relationship the last few years working alongside you. We've gone to some wicked events over at Douglas College that you've put on. So yeah, tell us a little bit about you, about what you do in a day. I know it's many hats you wear, right? So
It's maybe what I don't do.
yeah.
Yeah, I as you said, Mike, I'm very passionate about innovation and teaching, and even more passionate about experiential learning and getting more experiences into the classroom. A number of things that I've done through Douglas College and other institutions is building out programs and courses that really get students putting their hands into, like an example, into a business and helping businesses with some of the challenges they're facing. Maybe they don't have enough resources. Maybe they don't have enough people to execute on some of these things. And these students are just eager to take these new skills they have and put them into action. So how do we get them there? So that's definitely my passion. But I've also been an entrepreneur most of my life. I'm very passionate about making sure that we continue to build the entrepreneurial community. One of the biggest things that we notice in Canada, 97 or 98% of GDP and 70% of jobs are created by small businesses. So how do we support and how do we develop more small businesses? How do we get more students thinking about even going into a world of entrepreneurship, and how do they start their idea? So recently, and what you've been a part of it, Mike, and I think we'll talk later about it, is we started with the Lair and the Ignition Lab, which we can open up a bit more about. But I've launched a new course at Douglas College that is more applied into the world of entrepreneurship, getting students to go through about in building their idea, and building their idea out through desirability, feasibility, into validation, and building an MVP, and then presenting it in front of investors, but also helping them connect with some mentors along the way to help them build their idea. So
that's amazing. Yeah. Like I know we've gone to those Lair events, and it's amazing to see that, because I find, like, in the past, institutions would have these courses, and yeah, you're learning as you go, but once you get your degree or whatever and you're out, you don't know where to go from there. So this is almost like with these people meeting business owners and also just like developing these plans that are ready to pitch as soon as they're out of school. It's like massively, just such a plus for them, right? So it's awesome to see that you've done that, and I mean, it's grown. Like, I mean, you just started and it's grown significantly, right?
Oh yeah, it's insane. We started off with just doing a couple pilots, and the pilots have now led to 2 full-time courses that are being delivered in this space. So it's an exciting, and the ideas, Mike, and you saw the ideas, Mike. The ideas going from the early beginnings of it, they were a little rusty, but as we started to proof out the idea and the concept and connect with better mentors and connect the students with better ideas and give them the tools to really articulate the idea that they want to get across, then we've seen some exciting applications. And like we had some applications, we had some different restaurant ideas, we had technology pieces coming out of it using AI and artificial intelligence. But it's definitely it's been an exciting journey.
Yeah, and I know that, like, you're one of the main reasons we have such an awesome relationship with Douglas College, with interns that we bring in, just to give you credit, amazing. Every one of them that has come through our doors, the passion and just like the eagerness to learn, as well as just like how valuable they see a network like what we have here is for their futures. It's been great. So like we have always just absolutely loved this partnership that we have going on together, and you've always been so positive about what we do. How do you see like this, especially now? I think it's just like you want entrepreneurship to grow in Canada.
Yep.
How valuable are like spaces like this?
Well, when I look around, and spaces like this are hugely valuable, because the number one thing to building an idea is the network you surround yourself with. You can't do it all by yourself. No. You need the tools around you. You need the support network. You need the mentors, because one of the things that's been very successful about this new ventures marketing course that we launched at Douglas College was because of mentors. Getting people that already had past experiences, had already gone through this tumultuous relationship with trying to to get an idea launched, they have been able to come back and share their knowledge, because again, sharing their knowledge and guiding these students and these prospective entrepreneurs into the world is going to give them the tools to be successful. And I think one of the things that I'm really passionate about, we know there's a big failure rate with entrepreneurship, and it's this, and people go into it with what we consider an innovation bias. And innovation bias is they go in with the idea that I have this great idea and I'm just going to launch it, without actually going through a proper process of really validating whether this idea will take hold. Building, like what I like to say, is building it from seed. Taking it from the seed and how do I build it to a flower? Instead of going right to the flower, let's bring it back to the seed and let's give them the tools and give them the people and the resources to help them conceptualize their idea and then build it to the reality that it could be.
Yeah, and also give them the reality that it takes time. I feel like that's a lot of people. It's a instantaneous society we have right now for things that you can get. So I find like there's a grind that you might be putting in money for the first 5 years of your business, not making a dime, but you see your passion and you know you have a great idea, and it's really hard to take that leap and also just understand that that's probably going to happen no matter how successful or even how great your idea is. So it's definitely something that you have to understand about entrepreneurship. Is there's a lot of stress that goes alongside it, but if you kind of know that at the beginning instead of finding it out when you're 3 years deep into your business and you're just been funneling money nonstop, it's really nice to also be around people that have gone through the same thing and kind of can build you up, knowing that that's just kind of how it can go.
Well, I love what you said there, Mike, because I think when you say the element, the leap, because I think one of the other things of this element is the fear.
Yeah.
The fear of taking the next step. Or it's the other side of it too, is too much planning and not enough execution.
Yeah.
And I think spaces like what you and Aaron have created here gives people the comfort and the tools and the space to chat and be able to start to execute something, to start building something. And even if it's just a small little thing that they do, launch a podcast, like do some content development, do a social media post, do something that gets the fruition of your idea out there so you can get engaged. Because I think one of the things that also in entrepreneurship, and I think even in the world of society nowadays, because the society with social media and digital media, we need to be really customer centric. We need to really understand who is our customer. We can't solve everybody's problem, but we need to solve the right problems with the right people. And that's what we need to get people to think about. But we also need to give them the tools and the comfort to be able to take that first step and that first leap, like you said. Just take that step forward, try something. You don't have to fully go out, hey, I want to launch a restaurant. I don't have to go out and start looking for leasing space, put a kitchen together, do those elements. I can go to the farmer's market. I can I can test my concoctions, my food out the farmer's market. Then I can lead into maybe a food truck. And then I can lead into eventually a restaurant. Like, how can we bite-size this? And how can we give them the right tools and the right individuals, the right community, like it's done here, building that community? Because again, the networking is huge.
Yeah, no, nobody, like, it always goes back to that.
Yeah.
It always goes back to face-to-face contact with other humans. We had, I find, it was kind of a negative at the time with COVID. Obviously, we couldn't have as many people as we'd like, but I also feel like after COVID, the people just craving connection again has really been a plus for us, where now it's really like entrepreneurs and just small business owners are seeing how valuable this is. People that have the choice of working from home, that pay their hard-earned money to not work from home, is something that some people, it might not process in their brain, but I think with people that think outside the box and entrepreneurs in general that are really diving headfirst into it, these kinds of places are so essential. Like if they have all these ideas as their business, like as a business owner, and they're starting this idea, or they've been doing it for a while, but they don't have the capital to pay a bunch of people full time to be all these positions, this place has every one of those positions that can be contracted out. Like, we have everybody in here that could help you out, whether it's accounting, whether it's brand design, graphic arts, social media, just marketing, like everybody in one house, but you don't have to commit to having everybody on your full-time payroll.
Yeah, no, and it's so many of these things, and they're running through my head, and I think one of the things that I think everybody out there and listeners need to know that Canada in general, their productivity is way down. Yeah. And what I mean by productivity is way down, meaning is that when we came out of COVID, we didn't really come out of COVID. We went back to our houses. We went back to working from home. Yeah. The challenge with working from home is, where does the innovation happen? Yeah. When you have this idea, all of a sudden you have this idea, oh my God, the spark. And typically what you would do in an office space, you would run into a colleague and you say, hey, I have this brilliant idea. And you start sharing it. So, but now you have to set up the meeting. Yeah. And the time you set up the meeting, the idea slips away. So I think when we talk about like what you and Aaron have created here, Mike, with these spaces and having places where we can incubate, because incubation is important to innovation. And even in businesses have to get back to this element, and they're wrestling with this now. We see a lot of businesses saying, hey, you need to come back to the office, because the three principles when innovation is going to happen: we need critical thinking, we need creative thinking, but we need collaboration. Yeah. We need to be able to share and break this idea apart. We need to whiteboard it. We need to put it up there, because the idea will not get fruition until you get some buy-in. And we need to get some kind of buy-in, early customers, whatever those elements. But by being in a space that you can do that. Now, the other thing I want to just address with the other side of productivity is that we as entrepreneurs need to realize where our skill sets are, where our passions lie, where we can contribute to our business, and how we can make our business the most profitable. The challenge that sometimes we do is we try to take on too much. Yeah. And I love what you're saying with all the resources that are here that help, because we can't do everything. It does not affect the business in a positive way if the entrepreneur is doing everything themselves. Yeah. They have to realize where their skill set is and where they can add more to the bottom line, or add more to the return on the investment of the business and grow the business. They need to leverage, and they need to find people to do those other things. Yeah. And, find a fractional CMO, find a fractional CFO, find these people out there that can help you in these short terms that you don't have to do it yourself. Doing it yourself anymore is not the way. It's the slow process, and usually ends in failure, unfortunately. Burnout. And you're not as passionate about what you started. Yeah. And I think when I was just talking to one of your colleagues here before we started this podcast, I'm saying, passion is the key. Yeah. If you love something and it gets you up every day, that's where success is going to happen. If you stop loving something and it stops being a job and a chore, then it's not really what it's going to be set out to do. You need to start reevaluating at that point. If it's becoming more of a chore, where do I need to reposition myself? Where do I need to shift my skill set and look to help find others like Mike here to help you maybe build that podcast?
Yeah, it's I feel like it's like people think that hard work, it's always going to be hard work, but it's not as much work if you love it. It's like it's hard to explain, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's not work, if that makes any sense, if you love what you're doing. I mean, it's a hell of a lot of work doing a podcast and building a podcast, editing a podcast, posting a podcast. But if you love doing it, you shouldn't look at it as that. It's something you want to do. I know this is something that you always praise is podcasting. I've heard you say podcasting is like the new Bitcoin. Yeah. And it's the truth, the value that just talking about your knowledge and talking to other people with just vast amounts of knowledge and so many different topics is so valuable for people starting out in business, people that have created successful businesses, especially if it's a huge niche. If it's a major niche of an idea or a business that you have, how many of those podcasts are out there on that topic? Probably very little. So if you all of a sudden are the only, well, like one out of like 100 podcasts, that may sound like a lot, but if it's one of 100 podcasts in the world and you're good at what you do, finding a following is actually, it could be easier than you'd think if it's niched down.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Mike. And just so your audience knows, I have 3 different podcasts that I produce myself.
Yeah.
Innovation Fuel is one I do. I do another one called Marketing Corners Talks, and I also do one called Education in Action. This is coming soon to fruition. But Michael, and I love what you're saying, Mike, about the whole element of podcasting. Podcasting, I believe, is the next Bitcoin. It's the next big thing. And the reason I think it's the next big thing is where can we share our story? Where can we share our voice? Where can we share our values? A lot of people, when they're moving by a transit or driving in their cars, they're listening to something. And why not listen to podcasts and stories and things that enhance you and your individual elements that you're trying to achieve in your day out there? And a lot more people are doing that. Podcasting is quickly moving in. Radio, by the way, has been around forever. Yeah. And radio, like we've had radio still exists today, but podcast is becoming the new norm. And that's why I think the next element of podcasting is definitely going to shape. And it's a great way in the world of being a digital marketing specialist. Like when it comes to digital marketing, we're thinking of the high-level element up here. We're thinking about how do we create awareness about our ideas? How do we create awareness about our business? Well, the best way to do it is to build a podcast. Yeah. You can build high-level content, and then you can repurpose that content. You can take this content. We can take this content right now, Mike, and we can put it in Instagram. We can do a little TikTok thing on it. You and I, do you want to do a dance? Let's do a dance. I'll put it up on. But again, it's a great way to showcase your story. It's a great way to share your story, to get your story in your own voice. Because sometimes we can't get our own voice out there because artificial intelligence is doing most of the content development now. Yeah. Don't kid ourselves. Marketers are at least 70% of content out there is now developed by artificial intelligence. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, that was the last. What the lines are the innovation. Why am I forgetting the final word with the innovation? What is it called? Sorry.
Which one?
The last event we went to.
So the last one we have, Momentum Spark, which is. So we have Momentum Spark is what we do for students that are coming to pitch their ideas. They compete all the way down to the 2 top finalists, and then they go into a room to win cash prizes. Yeah. And so
and the AI presenter, the guy that was that was actually brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, and it's funny to see that middle point of where people are in acceptance. You saw a lot of like the older generation in the crowd kind of like really trying to poke them and being like, this is never going to replace us, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I personally don't think AI is going to replace humans. I think humans that know how to use AI are going to replace humans. Yep. And that's exactly what this guy, Nicholas, was saying. It's the truth, and we got to adapt and we got to learn how to use it because it's brilliant technologies, and it can be super scary. But you, as a professor, it's probably changed teaching in like drastically because students are using it on their projects. So like, how is it being a professor and like working alongside AI?
Well, so this is a great question, Mike, because being a professor and being teaching in a research institution, definitely we have to be careful with what's someone's particular knowledge. What is their knowledge? What's their contribution? So having artificial intelligence do this work for them, it's not really their product. It's not their document. So I think what it needs to do, and what I've done with artificial intelligence, is embrace it. And embrace it meaning that students are going to use it. They do need to use it. They need to use it for their future. The future of work, as you said, the people that are going to replace you are not the artificial intelligence. It's going to be the people that have experience in knowing how to prompt, knowing how to use these tools effectively to get the work that they need to get done. And I think so we need to embrace it. So we just need to think differently. We need to think. And so for example, Mike, in my courses, I've embraced it, and it's the starting point. It's the idea creator. Yeah. It's for them to start there in order to move this forward in what they need to complete this particular course. Now, as I said before, my courses are all experiential learning. So they're all elements, they're all usually aligned with a business to help a business with a particular challenge. We'll start with, like, for example, I teach digital marketing. So I get students going out working with these with different small businesses that don't have the resources to execute an effective digital marketing plan. And I get the students to do it. But they got to use the artificial intelligence in order to develop and do some of that content development. So, but where I'm going to assess them is not in that. I'm going to assess them through their knowledge. So, for an example, when they come to me at the end of the semester and I'm trying to figure out if they check all the course learning outcomes throughout the semester, I get them to present it to me and show me.
Yeah.
So show me, go to the website, go to the social media, show me how to fix all this stuff. Show me, because that really shows us that they truly get the actual outcomes of what we're trying to do. So bringing those pieces in and using them. I use artificial intelligence to help in building my lessons and help in building assignments and using tools. They are here to stay. They're here to stay. It's just like the internet was many years ago. And so my past background, listeners out there, is I've been in the e-commerce business for years, built multiple different e-commerce stores, and at the early stages of e-commerce, it was competing for the lowest price and see who could get for that lowest price. Over time, it's evolved, and more people feel more and more comfortable with the use of digital, and more getting online and using their phones to get online and get the answers they need to get in order to get the jobs they need to get done. And the same will happen with artificial intelligence. Yeah. We cannot run from it. We need to embrace it. But we need to embrace it, and we need to we need to force the ethical piece of it, meaning that it's used for good and not bad.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think we can get there. I think it's obviously there's always going to be people that are scared of the negatives of AI and how it can be used against us. But in reality, like, how much help it is for businesses and entrepreneurs, just with things that used to take them like a full work day, now they can get done in an hour, and it's not even that the product that they're getting in the end is much different. It's their own ideas being brainstormed in a way that just organizes it better for them quickly. And ChatGPT, hearing that stat, I think that Nicholas was talking about how like less than 5% of humans are using it still. Yeah. It just blows my mind because of just how much it helps you in everyday things that even using it instead of Google. It's insane. I know Google has their own AI platforms now, but it's just programs like ChatGPT are just this is the beginning stages of it all. You can write yourself a script for something in literally seconds.
Yeah. Well, but it is insane, Mike, but it is going to replace search, guys. Don't kid yourself. Yeah. Google already knows this. They've already built Gemini, and Gemini is their platform they use. We see that ChatGPT has more been leaned into Bing and Microsoft products, and we'll see. And really, guys, the voice element. I don't know how many of you out there are doing this, but like an example, in my household, we have Alexa. Yeah. And now these voice elements are now being programmed with generative AI. Yeah. And now that's just been recent over the last month or so. They've been programmed with generative AI. The world of how we search for things is changing. Yeah. The way we do things, Google already saw this writing on the wall a while back, actually, because social media was taking a lot of its search traffic. Yeah. And we're seeing more people going into social media versus going through search. But with this AI, artificial intelligence, and now mapped into that being the search engine versus being the typical traditional search engine, we're going to see some real big changes of people getting all their answers and questions answered by the AI. One big thing, and I diverse from our conversation a bit, because there's another big swinging pendulum that's happening out there. We some huge things that are happening in social media. I don't know if you've been following Meta's a recent announcement that they're not going to validate anything anymore. Yeah. It's going to be up to us to validate things. So So we already start to see some shifts around this digital media side of things and what's happening in this digital world. AI is just another one. And with voice and voice control, artificial intelligence, and the changes to social media, the way we interact online is going to completely change. And it might even lead to new devices. So we might see something in the future. We've talked about Google Glasses, and we've seen that Meta came out with some glasses. We've seen Apple come out with Vision Pro. Like, what does the future look like as we start to move now with all these new tools and new things and the changes? And so, exciting.
Yeah, it's I feel like the more people get just enticed by AI and also like creating their own AI, essentially is also a reason why I think just with Meta, like lifting those almost like censorship, and basically it is because AI is going to find out truth for people themselves. Like the more you know how to use AI is when you're going to find out what's really going on in this world. And there's been a lot of censorship, but we know politics is so big in the world now, bigger than it's ever been. It shouldn't be. I feel like it's part of everybody's everyday lives more than it should be. But it's almost getting to a point where like, it's good because AI is going to make sure that keep these politicians in check with what they're saying. Nowadays, a politician can come up there and lie. They used to be able to do it all the time. Now they say it and they get fact checked right away. And it's not just opinions. It's legit artificial intelligence that really doesn't have a bias. That's the biggest thing now. And that's why I think programs like Meta, any of the Meta programs, they have to do this because as soon as things are being censored on one side, they know right away that it's controlled content. And it's weird how much we were changing in such a short period of time.
Oh, insane! Yeah. Insane, and we just see so many changes happening so quick. How does like a small business or an entrepreneur jump on board? But again, like as Mike said, like artificial intelligence can be a helper, and getting that help and support from artificial intelligence to help you with some of these things is a good thing. You just have to figure out which ones. And it's not about doing every one of them. It's about focusing on one and doing that one really well in order to help you. And again, the other thing, hey, if you're looking for students to help you, I can help you with that element. I can get you, Mike's had some students here.
Yeah.
I can help you with students to help you with some of those resources to help you get some things going if you're struggling to meet those things that you don't have the skill set to do or you don't have the time and effort. Or, as we said before, productivity-wise, it's probably not worth the time and effort from your end. You need to find someone else to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of a switch topics, but I know that a lot of people within your programs are a lot of immigrants, right?
Yeah.
Have you noticed, like Canadians? I've read before. I've heard as an entrepreneur myself. For some reason, Canadian entrepreneurship is never like Canadians themselves for some reason don't jump on the like starting their own businesses. It's compared to let's say the States where it's an entrepreneurial like country. Like they promote it, they endorse it. Here, why is it, do you see like there's so many immigrants that come to Canada and they see the value of it and they love it and they want to do their own thing? Why is it that Canada?
Well, I think it really comes down to culture, Mike. Like culture, and when you can see this in politics. Like Canada is a very conservative place. We don't take very many risks. We act very conservatively. And I think we haven't created the environment for that element. We should be creating the environment because, as I said before, 98% of our GDP, 98% of business is small businesses. And in order for us to survive the next wave of different changes in governments that is happening across the border here, and what does that look like? Tariffs that are coming in, like what does that look like? The ultimate element is that we need to be thinking about how do we support these small businesses, but also how do we develop new small businesses to replace some small businesses, because that's where our GDP comes from. Like it doesn't come from big business like it does in the United States. So, and we also need to persuade government to start focusing on areas where we have the best productivity. Like one of the things I was saying to a colleague here the day I was in New York City the other day, about maybe a month ago, and I was looking around and I was going from street to street, and every second corner there was a Aritzia, a Lululemon, and a Herschel. And I'm like, holy crow. in Canada. Like, and we don't talk about these brands as much as we should, because these brands are being successful. They're not tech brands, they're fashion brands. And yet there's some things that we do very well, like the brewing industry, like things like that we do very well, that we could be able to take it to the next level with further investments, the right investments in the right places. I think we need to invest in the right places, and then we definitely need to educate, like I'm trying to do at Douglas, is how do we educate these students, give them the comfortable space to be able to exercise and challenge something, to try something out, to step out of their comfort zone, to try to jump into an entrepreneurial idea, to try and build a business model. It's not that difficult to start. They just need a safety net to be able to start that element. And I think, when we get to that element of changing that mindset and making it more comfortable to approach this, because there's a ton of people, I'm sure a ton of listeners out there that are not entrepreneurs but are inspired to be entrepreneurs. And we need to help them. We need to give them the spaces like here and the schools and places where they can actually start to exercise that and see if there might be some potential. It doesn't take lots to start something. It's just about, and you don't need to be the next Google.
No,
you could just have a nice tidy little income developing your own idea. So I think we need to change the parameters of that.
Yeah, it's a leap of faith. It's scary. It's scary. It's super scary. Especially, I mean, like at times right now, it's super expensive in Canada. It's like more expensive than it's ever been. So like the idea of like putting it all in your own hands can be scary to a lot of people. Where I think during COVID, when there was so many layoffs, there was a huge, I think, like boom of people thinking of doing like their own thing. And then, I mean, podcasting blew up during those times because everybody wanted to just talk about what they're like, what do I do now? I get laid off. I've been in this industry for so long. There's nobody hiring in this industry. What do I do? Let's talk about it. But it's almost like as soon as the drive to do this happened for so many people, everything was against them as well, because all of a sudden, like we know from our last location, leases, like I'm hearing just like people's leases going up this year up to like 120% what they were paying before, and it's just like, how does somebody like have that confidence on like, oh my God, how do I make that amount of money to get these places? That's why, like again, I'll kind of tell what we do here, but it's having a place where they can go that they don't need that heavy lease on them. And then what we're going to see is all these buildings that are empty, but places like this just packed. Well, I think that's the thing, Mike. I think like when someone's faced with like a challenge like that, where they've been operating and the lease is going up, entrepreneurs face problems all the time. The problem never stops. There's always something that comes up. So how do you adapt and change to meet the needs? Do you really need that space? You have to ask your question of that element. And then you got to look towards places like what you and Aaron have created here, Mike, and look what the resources you can get. You don't have to have a full element. You can spread yourself out elsewhere into these spaces. So I think it's awesome what you guys are doing here. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Do you have anything coming up with Douglas or any kind of programs, any kind of events that are promoting entrepreneurship with all your students again?
Well, I'm always looking at new ways. For me, it's always about going out, learning from what I did before, and how do I make it better? How do I make it better? So every elements that I do, I'm always looking at, okay, so how can I make this better? How can I leverage this in a different direction? So right now, my focus is definitely on one of the things that I'm really passionate about too, is that one of the things is that we just heard recently is the Small Business BC has shut down. And that's a problem, because where are these small businesses going to get some tools and resources? So is how do we leverage maybe even our institutions, the continuing studies programs, and our relationships with the Board of Trades and the chambers and things like that, to try and figure out how we can help provide some of those resources to help, fill that gap from where small business is. And one of the things that I've been working on leads to the event element is the Ignition Lab element. And Ignition Lab, and I have some ideas around this, and this is where I'm trying to think, is how can we support the businesses and give them the tools they need to be successful during this where this opportunity has disappeared, where these resources would have been available to them through Small Business BC. But Small Business BC is no longer anymore. There is other tools out, but it seems like we need to be thinking differently about it, and we need to be thinking about how do we provide those tools to businesses and help them, even getting like students involved. How do we get students out doing some of this work, and getting them value for value? I can't do this. I don't have the time and effort to do this. This student needs this experience, has learned all this element, needs to be able to apply it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. The Lions Lair thing, if people don't know what Lions Lair is, it's a play on Dragon's Den or Shark Tank. Yeah. I think those kind of things, just to get, even if it's not their finished idea, just like coming up with ideas that could be something, and just getting the brainstorming going, because honestly some of the most brilliant ideas come as like you're not even your secondary, not even your third idea. It could be something so small but so brilliant that it comes out of nowhere and it becomes your full-time thing, and just having these students brainstorm with one another. I am just like adamant that more like co-working spaces need to be put directly in colleges and universities, where you get these business owners, because this is the thing about your events that are so great, is when you get these very successful business owners coming to these events, being around these students, and basically it sounds bad, but like being able to poach, like it's like, oh my god, these brilliant students are here for us, and seeing that in a college, like the amount of, I think, business owners that would be going to co-working spaces within schools would be endless, because you literally have a roster of brilliant minds that might not even know what direction to go in, and that face-to-face human connection that just can begin from one conversation can lead to like a future that you never even saw for yourself. And I've seen that so much for people that have gone to school for one thing, met people within these kind of like a networking group, and gone in a completely different direction to like hugely successful careers, right? And that's, I don't think people realize, you might put all your eggs in one basket, and that basket is not your basket.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, we can go look at the big ones. We can look at Google. We can look at Meta. We can look at Facebook. We can look at these. Where do they all start?
It's always
they started it in institutions. Like Mark started it at Harvard. Google was started as a research project. So it happens. And I think I love what you're saying, Mike, because as it comes back to the same as we round around the conversation, it comes back to that networking, that element of sharing ideas. And when we do the Lions Lair, those events, the momentum spark elements, it's all about elements of trying to get people not only to share their idea, their business model, but it also inspires other people. It might inspire someone in that audience. Hey, an example, we had one at that last one was a coffee app. Yeah. And the coffee app was a brilliant coffee app, but guess who was in the audience? The owner of, I think it was Second Cup or something. It was Second Cup or Blends. I can't remember right now. It was the actual owner of that element was in the audience, and the spurring of that conversation. Wow, all of a sudden now that leads, hey, I never thought of it. I've always thought of my business as a retail business, but this application has a different way of looking at things. Maybe there's a partnership that we can do that I can grow my business and you can leverage from my business in order to grow your idea. And so partnerships and things start happening. Conversations start happening. And as I said before, critical thinking, creative thinking, and the big one is collaboration. When we start bringing all those three pillars together, that's when real innovation starts happening.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. I definitely want our viewers to check you out, check out the programs you're involved in. What's the best way they can find out more about you, as well as just everything you do?
Well, the best place, of course, and I always encourage students to be here, is LinkedIn, of course. Got to be on LinkedIn. So look me up at Dave Keighron on LinkedIn. You'll find me there. I'm in a number of different things. So you can look at my Marketing Corner podcast is www.marketingcornertalks.ca. We have Ignition Lab, which is ignitionlab.ca. We will have educationinaction.ca coming soon. And I also, if you're also love listening to podcasts like Mike here, I do another podcast called Innovation Fuel. You can look that one up. That's where you can reach me. Reach out to me, LinkedIn, message me. Happy to help.
LinkedIn is the most I think underutilized platform that if people that don't use it don't know what they're missing. Like anybody, obviously an entrepreneur, business owner, how easy it is of like searching for what you want and need, or a person, anything is I think it's the best platform for it, for actually like singling out what you actually are trying to find. Like us finding clients here, LinkedIn is the best tool there is, and I don't hear it enough entrepreneurs using it on a day-to-day basis, when in reality it's phenomenal.
It's your online network tool. And hey, by the way, and Mike, we are always looking for mentors to help with. If you have any business experience, you've launched your own business and you had success in your business, we're always looking for mentors to mentor new students that are coming up. Hey, and if you're a small business out there and you need some support marketing, we've got students that can help you. Reach out to me. I can set you up with internship programs, in-course learning elements. I can help.
It definitely can. It's been amazing for us. I mean, I don't know what we do without your programs. Like within the students that we get have been, like I said, phenomenal. And what's awesome is a lot of the students that end up like they get through their schooling, stay with us. Yep. That's the thing. They see the value of this. So when they get to, like when I was in college doing your internship, it's like, oh crap, I have to go and do this again. It's like I was packaging CDs and just like sitting there. The people that are coming in to help us are seeing the value. They're learning, as well as like they're seeing the value at so much that they stay on after they need to. And it's a huge percentage. Like it's insane how many of our facilitators are ex students that have stayed on. It's brilliant, as well as just they become part of the community. It's such a tight-knit community that's been built here, and has a lot to do with the students that have come from Douglas. So I thank you for that. Thank you for all this partnership that we've had together, and just a great relationship the last few years.
Love it, my friend. Keep building the community. We'll keep it strong right here in Port Moody.
Yes, thanks, man. Thank you. And thank you all for watching today and listening. Make sure to like and comment on this podcast, as well as just let us know what you think. If you want to be on this podcast, if you know anybody that would like to talk about what they're doing with their lives and what they're doing with their brilliant ideas, make sure to send us a message and comment on this podcast. Again, we had Dave Keighron. He's a professor over at Douglas College. So many amazing things. We appreciate him coming on today, and we appreciate you listening. So thank you. Make sure to subscribe. Again, we are on Spotify, as well as YouTube, as well as a few others that get linked from our Spotify. So thank you again. This has been The Community. Have a good one.